Hey guys, and welcome to X Maximus, aka Mando's YouTube channel. Today we have a special guest on the show for a relaxed AMA. We have Jagdeep The CTO of Syscoin. Hey Jag, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, Mando?
Very good, very good. So, thank you very much for joining us today on the show. Really appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. It's always great to be getting the chance to talk to you for sure.
Yeah, it was great in Dubai, wasn't it? We had a great time, great events.
It was awesome. Finally put a face to the name, and I saw now your face to the name to the world. And, it's an eye-opening experience just being out there and being surrounded with everyone around in the community. It was, we couldn't ask for anything better.
It was the event in St. Regis was unbelievable. And it was the first time I met you that night. And I remember I went into the event with my wife and they had little badges for everyone. And I went up to the reception, the concierge, and he said to me, what's your name? And I felt really strange because as you knew at that point, no one had actually seen Mando. So I said, Mando, and the wife was laughing. And then she said, okay. And she gave me the badge for Mando. And she had one for Mando's wife. So the wife wasn't too best pleased. But I remember walking past the team and, you guys, because we've been working together for, 8 months or so. And I walked past the team and they were like, Mando. And even yourself, I had to come over and say, Jag, it's me. But it was cool, wasn't it? Yeah, it was good.
No, it was great. I think overall, I think it ended up really good, and I love the fact that everyone was so open and welcoming, and I feel like it's taken a life of its own since the last time I was there. In Dubai, it's kind of now as a lot of foreigners that are coming in that are really shouting from the rooftops that this is the place to be, and
it is, yeah.
And the architecture is just amazing. Like you can't find that anywhere else in the world. So if you're throwing a party, I mean, it's the place to be for that sort of thing.
It really is. I mean, anyone that says that it is, obviously you've got to respect the laws and you've got to respect the religion and whatever. But there's so many. It's like a melting pot of all different religions and different colours, and everyone respects each other. And that's what's so unique about this place. It's so safe.
Yeah, I mean, where I am, it's multicultural as well, right? Everyone respects each other's religions. There's factions, right? There's Asians and East Asians and Russians and all sorts of things, but they all kind of have their own cultures, and everyone understands that. And it's a big melting pot everywhere.
Yeah.
I find like the most desired destinations are melting pots.
Yeah.
And that's where people want to migrate, and the people are just better to each other there.
Yeah.
And they understand the religious beliefs and all that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's not any different there, right? You have to follow the laws wherever you are.
Yeah.
Actually prefer the fact that there's low crime rates, right? And
very much so, yeah.
It helps, in a lot of ways. There's drawbacks to that approach, but there's a lot of pros as well. So I can see what they're doing for sure. It makes a lot of sense.
It is good. So just to touch on today, just a nice light conversation between both of us, and just to try and get the viewers and obviously the Psy Army to understand where we are today, where we were in the past, yourself, and where you want to be tomorrow in the future. I mean, how did you start off in crypto, Jack? What was the starting point and what pulled you down the rabbit hole, so to speak?
I don't know. I might have been doing this since I was like a kid. I don't even know. It's been so long. It's like one of those things where you just wake up and you just realize this is what you should have been doing since you knew how to talk, right? It's like, when you see these sort of things, my path, my journey was to, learn about the markets, the psychology, the philosophy of money and all this sort of thing. And I was in the markets already. And then I came across the idea of, cryptocurrency and blockchain based, value provenance systems, seeing what's out there already with digital gold and, what Zabel and, Adam Back's work we're doing. Then you see what possibilities with Bitcoin are, and you sort of think to yourself, I'm already looking for something, or I'm already looking for a solution to the world's problems financially because, you experience them firsthand. You experience inflation, even though people don't know what inflation is at that point, 2008, 2009. The average person doesn't even know what inflation is. Now, if you ask everybody on the street, they know what inflation is.
Yeah.
So the trust in government was really high. For me, it was never that high because I kind of knew that this was the can-kicking exercise at that point when you have those sorts of breakdowns in the financial sector, in the governments, and political, socio-political, it was all coming to a head. And I was looking for something as an answer, but it's one of those things where you're like, this may not be the de facto answer, but it at least is a possible solution if enough people start to realize that.
Yeah.
And then as you get deeper and deeper into the philosophy and other people start learning about it, it becomes like a wildfire spreading. And that's what kind of kept us going, right? First learning about it, seeing that there's a possibility this could be, you'll be in a lot better spot if you're spending your time here than you are just, in the business world out there trying to work for fiat, right? Either you're working for fiat or you're working for crypto or you're trying to explore avenues for crypto. So that's kind of what I realized is that this is just a better place to be if you want to make a difference in the world.
Agreed.
And then from there on, started to poke around into the code bases and see what's out there. Bitcoin, spent a lot of time in Bitcoin, and then looked at Syscoin and found that, okay, well, less politics, less issues with people, maybe not understanding where we want to go philosophically, because a lot of the philosophy, even in the Bitcoin industry right now, there's I think BIP 119 is causing a big issue in the Bitcoin world. It enables sort of like a pseudo smart contract, more flexibility to Bitcoin scripts. More multi-sigs, better Lightning networks, better custodial solutions. Overall, very very beneficial. But the OGs are saying, hold on, if you're starting to add this, what sort of risk? We have to analyze the risk of.
Exactly.
Are you going to add complex computation to Bitcoin? Because what happens about the ripple effects of when you start to do that sort of thing, in terms of the spam attacks, the DOS, the computational cost, and each opcode has a certain cost that is well defined in Bitcoin. And if you start to go away from those defined costs, then you can end up in a CryptoKitties sort of environment that Ethereum has had. And then you're not really a store of value anymore. What Bitcoin really is. It's working as designed. There's no need to start mixing in smart contract stuff. So that's, the political issues. There's people like, no, we need this, otherwise it's dead. It's the whole big block debate. We need to increase the blocks because Bitcoin is a transaction processor and needs to compete with Visa, which is the 100% wrong narrative that hopefully the world understands now.
Yeah.
I mean, people were not smart enough to realize that when they were doing these debates, but now they've seen that. And that's, those political, philosophical issues cannot be overcome a lot of times because people can't get over their logical fallacies. They're believing in something and they cannot. It's like a religious debate. People don't switch religions, right? They're born into that and they
stick with it.
That's their upbringing. That's the path to learn the knowledge through, and they cannot change that unless they unlearn everything and relearn something else. It's too much of a tall task. So this was a chance for us to kind of start with the philosophy from scratch and realize we want to plug into Bitcoin, but we don't want to plug into the politics of Bitcoin. Therefore, we're not trying to leverage the consensus of Bitcoin, which would mean that we are borrowing the politics of Bitcoin. When you're plugging directly into Bitcoin and saying, let's take Bitcoin and spend that in smart contracts off of Syscoin, that means that every political decision of Bitcoin is now affecting you. Also the storage costs and settlement costs, times and delays and the bridging between Bitcoin and your system adds too much complexity.
Yeah.
So what we simply did was say, let's take the minimal security layer of Bitcoin, which is the important thing, the proof of work, and let's plug that into our system. But philosophically, we can start from scratch and define an ideal system, not store value, but an ideal system powering utility, the ultimate utility through smart contracts or generalized computing. How can we define our tokenomics, our ecosystem, to be best suited for that? And that's what we've done over the years. So that's what we've become now is a slow realization that, okay, there's this component here, validators or masternodes are important for incentivized full nodes. There's seniority baked in. There's a base layer for tokens. If Bitcoin assets, if assets or money on Bitcoin ever takes off, we have that evolutionary track there. And then on the Ethereum layer, we plug in an EVM, we scale up via rollups. This is how we view as a responsible way to create a system. If you're starting from scratch, you're looking from the cold. Coming in as a researcher, you would say, let's scrap everything. Let's take Bitcoin's proof of work. Let's scale via ZK rollups or optimistic rollups. Let's think of blockchain as a minimalistic system. We don't want to. You could execute on there, but we actually don't want people to do that. Because it's going to push up costs on everybody. If I'm sitting here doing smart contracts, and then you want to do a simple transfer, and you're priced out, what kind of financial inclusion is that? And what kind of ramifications does it have? Maybe 50 years down the road when it's even harder, when your kids grow up and then they're like, oh, I can't use this system. And it's got to be thought of as a settlement layer, and that's, what we've realized and how we've molded our design.
Fantastic. How did you get into Syscoin? What was the starting point for you?
It was around the time when the initial sale happened, and I was just learning about what other possibilities are there. I first looked at first it was in Bitcoin, then I looked at DevCoin, which was an interesting ideology that if people do work, like real physical work other than proof of work, like I want to write, or I want to do art, or I want to explain or educate people, you can get paid for that. Right. So there's a voting, like an on-chain mechanism to pay people shares based on how much work they've done, and the quality of the shares were voted on. It was kind of pseudo-centralized. We met on Bitcoin Talk. We said, this was the work we submitted for this week. Here's some code that I wrote. And then people would vote on it. It's worth this much work, so therefore this much shares, right? The problem with that approach was the subsidy was just way too high. 50,000 dev coins every block, every 10 minutes was just too high, and it was not tied to the output of work. I argued, if there's no work happening in the last 10 minutes or this month, if no work has happened, why do you need to pay out? Just burn those coins and don't pay them out. So, again, like philosophically, there's battles. And so when I saw Syscoin, it was one of those clean slates that, okay, there's more than just, it's just not just a copycat of, let's just pump and dump something, let's create something off of the Bitcoin base and hope that we'll raise some money and go right off in the sunset and go away. It was more like, here's some useful utility that you can build off Bitcoin that won't exist in Bitcoin. And that was a starting base template. And we built off of that. And we slowly, iteratively kind of introduced new concepts that was building up to where we are now. Slowly and surely, like we didn't, every step we've taken, we started with a marketplace, right? Which was kind of given to us by the original developer. Marketplace and escrow and this sort of thing. We took a look at each of those and we said, okay, if a marketplace takes off, first of all, what do you think? How do you think it's going to be used? It'll be Silk Road. It'll be dark markets, right? We were already getting requests from darknet operators around this. How can it be used to do stuff anonymously? Right? And that was a big point at which we're like, okay, well, officially we can't be doing this, right? Like this is not something we want to support. We wanted to try to do something like eBay or Amazon, but that's a centralized system. So what are we actually doing? Censorship resistant marketplaces, that's pretty much the target market for darknet. And it could be a democratized marketplace for public as well, but that's next to impossible when you're going after Amazon and one-day shipping and all that. You're not going to tackle that overnight. As well, there was a big issue with scaling that on the chain. All of the data was on the chain. So every step we took was the right direction, right? It was any other direction we would have taken it, we would have been gone.
Yeah.
So there's probably, 6 or 7 forks in the road to our evolution. Imagine having 6 or 7 forks where you have a 50-50 chance of survival.
And you hit each
and you
one.
don't know ahead of time. Yeah. And we've taken the right fork every single time. I don't know how to describe that as more just maybe realizing the end goal ahead of time. So there's the marketplace, there's figuring out on-chain versus off-chain data, there's figuring out, what is the usefulness of layer 1? Then there was, do we need to do our own smart contract system? Do we plug in Ethereum? Get a bridge? We realized, the bridge is not the best idea. Let's do an EVM on our own, but think of layer 1 as a secure settlement layer. And then now we've come to the realization that modular blockchain design where you have rollups and rollups are settling on layer 1, but layer 1 is really minimal. You could do your large settlements there if you want. You do your AMM swaps, but most people are not going to want to do that because you have a 2.5 minute block time. The fees will be higher. And so they're incentivized to move into layer 2.
Yeah.
So, and then on the Bitcoin side, we just think of that as kind of like the security blanket.
Fantastic.
But there is assets on the Bitcoin side that are useful for payment channels, Lightning networks, that sort of thing.
I'm so proud to be working as part of the team for Strategic Advisor, and in the groups that I'm in, I'm probably in 4 or 5 different groups. And let's talk about the team because, everyone that's invested in Syscoin and knows you and sees you and other AMAs and whatever or talks, I'm not kissing your backside, but they know of your intelligence and you're extremely, extremely intelligent guy. But then we've also got such a fantastic base of a team as well. And, the activity, I've never seen or been part of an organization so active, so intelligent, and literally 24 hours a day. I mean, the ecosystem is building and building and building constantly. And, everyone is just all hands on deck. We've got the listings, we've got so many listings at the moment. And the ecosystem, what's your vision? Obviously, I'm partial to a lot of the stuff in the groups, but coming from your mouth, what's your current vision of, the next year and what's your main focus?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the team, I couldn't be more proud to work with everyone that we have. We've chosen carefully who we bring into the circle, and again, we've made the right decisions. Everyone we brought in has been, either an investor of Sys or I spent a lot of personal time educating and making those realizations that this is the future. This is the way that the designs of all the chains will end up going. So getting these people involved under passion pretext of this is where the world is going to be thinking of along the line, so they feel empowered, right? Giving them a chance, and I love to see that, right? And so everyone we brought in, including yourself, we felt like we brought in the right people that are able to see past the leaves and the trees in the forest, right? And see that there's clarity there on what we're doing, and it's actually very important that we fulfill this design, just for the industry's sake. So that's driven through the passion of everybody, and because they're so passionate, they're actively working with everyone else, spreading the knowledge, and everyone really loves us when they learn about it. The people that spend the time to dig deeper, they like, okay, this is different, so we'd love to plug in, how can we plug in? And another thing is, we aren't VC driven, so from day one, we've never been VC driven. So because of that, it's been more organic. So we haven't been placed with people that we have to work with, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
right? You know, when you have VCs in this, and I'm not saying VCs are bad, they're going to open a lot of doors, and we will introduce that concept in the future. But I feel like as a seed organization, we need to grow through passion first and get and realize these solutions. 99.99% of the time, that never works.
Yeah.
Right. We know that you need the doors open from day one. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't have the right people behind it, it will never go. We feel like we have a really good recipe where we've got the good people that can actually push through. We've got a good enough design that can push through. We've got an industry that's open to non-VC things, organic growth like Bitcoin. The industry is open to that, right? The VC Boys Club, it is a thing, but we will be introducing that sort of concept once we get the ball rolling, if that makes sense. So once you have the VC groups, then sometimes there's stipulation that, hey, you know, if you want to work with the Boys Club, you need to do this, you need to do that. This is the way it works. And then we have to follow that pattern, right? We try to avoid that. So the projects we work best with are the ones that are like us. Yeah. You know, a little bit anarchist, a little bit archaic, a little bit organic, smart people that just realize this is the direction and everything's going. We all align that way. So that's how our direction is right now at the moment. And you know, the people and the passion is driven because of the circle of people that are involved. I agree. And it's the right people that are involved. And we're continuing to expand that. Yeah. But mostly it's word of mouth, right? It's like if you know somebody that you know that will be, 100% it's a slam dunk because you know who that person is. Yeah. We spend a lot of time to make sure it makes sense. And there's multiple gates where internally you have to sell a lot of people to say, okay, yeah, let's bring that person into the family, and now they're in there forever once they're there.
I think everyone within the family, so to speak, we all believe where Syscoin's going, and obviously this is not a place to talk about price at all, but you know, as far as rank is concerned, you know, it's a top 10 easy project, and we all know that. It's just that there's going to be that catalyst all of a sudden. The awareness is there. There's so many people growing within the community, very intelligent people. And when someone actually understands where this project's going and the community involved, it's like an awakening. You know, suddenly they believe, hang on a minute, why isn't this top 10 yet? It's far superior than X, Y, and Z. Why isn't this top 10? Yeah, you know.
I feel like our community is probably second to none because if you look at them, they've been through so much, right? Like they've been through 4 or 5 protocol vision related changes, like the forks in the road. Yeah. Like it's been always clear to me, right? But not clear to everybody else. This is where it's going to go. It's been clear to me that we need blockchain to be as a court system. I've been promoting this idea since 2016. Yeah. You know, since you get deep enough, become an expert, you realize this is where it's all going. Yeah. You can't put everything in one box and expect it to scale or to be secure. But those forks in the road, they a lot of times it's hard to translate those so that people in the world can understand it. And our community's been through they've had to suffer the scars of all those battles that we've had. And the ones that stuck around now, they are really immune to any sort of outbreak or war.
Of course, yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, well, they already understand top down where we've been, what we're doing, where we're going, what other blockchains are doing consequently. And so when people come in, they ask these questions, it's simple to answer. Yeah. It's like, what would you like? Solana, where the fee market is non-existent, or where it just blockchain stops working. How will that work if you have, a state-driven attacking your blockchain, and now they just completely shut it down, and now the world's trade system shuts down because of that. Yeah. Like you just can't have that. So in our view, we try to think about security first, and the community is driving that narrative out. So at some point, some people say, oh, you need to have the top-down people speak about it. In my view, we hand it right back off to the community when we're done our job. Yeah. When we're finished, the community takes off on its own through the DAO infrastructures we're creating to self-perpetuate the system without top-down control, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The repository will be managed. Maybe that could be managed. We're working actually with some cool concepts where we could store the repository in sort of like an IPFS system, where it's not hosted by GitHub, but the community can actually manage it on their own in a way. Like they can self-replicate the code and change the code. We just need to tie in the commit access to a sort of like a governance voting.
Nice.
So if a community really agrees or wants to change the protocol, someone can propose it and vote on it, and then now it's official, and people build it and do the release. We just need to create the infrastructure up front to dictate, okay, this is the design. Now the community takes it and runs off and molds it and evolves it, or if they need in a decentralized way. So yeah, I think for now, it's important that we get the word out and we attend these events and we talk about it. As we, the reason probably is, it's not up there right now is because when a new person tries the blockchain today, and even internally, a lot of people are like, what is, 2.5 minutes, sometimes it takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get into a block. They're used to instant gratification, right? They're used to, in BSC, you get like a 10-second confirmation and it's done, or Polygon, you get like a 2-second confirmation, it's done. So they're used to that, and we kind of take that away, and it's almost like a gold standard. So we're taking a step back there, right? We take a step back on the convenience side. We didn't have the roll-up infrastructure because the roll-ups just were not mature enough when we released our EVM. Now they're getting there, right? They're getting there, and ZK is coming around too. Once you have something like that, and you put users directly onto the roll-ups, where you have full, secure, cheap, instant transfers, you have that gratification even more than what you're getting on any of these other chains. You're getting instant, probably sub-second confirmations. Then you turn that on its head, and people will be like, "Holy, this is so fast! How is it so fast?" And then you get the people saying, "This is the best, right? This is the best solution." But the academics, the other people digging in, like, okay, well, it's fast here, but it's slow there. Now it makes sense why you made it super slow, because you wanted it super secure.
Yeah. It's
a settlement layer. It needs finality. We need to ensure the security of the system. We need to disincentivize people to use layer 1, so it's super cheap to use layer 1 as long as possible. These are the design decisions that become apparent once you have a network or a mass effect come in. And then that's what we're hoping to achieve once we get some TVL on top of layer 2.
Brilliant, mate. What's exciting you at the moment so much, Jag? I mean, when you wake up in the morning, what's really exciting you throughout the day? What's your main focus that's getting you through each week?
Yeah, I mean, just growing the ecosystem right now, setting up vehicles for structured ecosystem funds, and also the layer 2 strategy is really exciting, because I know that's the tipping point. That's the point at which all of the metrics people use today to value the coins regarding TVL and users and all that stuff, it becomes relevant, because now you have growth, and we've maybe 10, 15 big DeFi protocols that we just held off on launching on layer 1, and they want to launch on layer 2. So this is exciting, because now kind of getting the air, food, and water ready for that sort of thing. And once that launches, then we can launch all the campaigns and all the sort of thing where we can do giveaways and airdrops and all sorts of cool stuff that get people involved. DeFi projects come in and they say, "Oh, you should do this, you should do that." It's all possible. It's cheap, it's fast, and at that point, we expect a lot of interest, because we put out there that we can do compliance, even though that can be done on any blockchain. We've been focused on that because on the enterprise side, I've seen myself a lot of demand and a lot of requirements from the enterprise companies requiring compliance. It's just a battle that needs to be fought, and it's a solution that needs to be out there. It's a different category of money, right? This is non-crypto money. This is family offices and enterprises and the Web 2, I guess Web 2 money, the big money, right? That needs to have a solution for compliance. you will have more opportunities at that point, because now we're talking like governments or brokers or big companies will come to us and say, okay, it's scalable, so how can we make this compliant? You said you can make it compliant, so please, if you can make this compliant, we'd love to build on top. And that's the sort of thing that we're expecting, like a snowball effect, where when you think of Ethereum, you don't think of that, right? Yeah. A company sees Ethereum and they think of regulatory risk. When they look at Syscoin and all the language you put out there, they'll think of, okay, it's just like Ethereum, but also it's got this cool solution where regulators won't shut us down and we can actually have a solution on it. Let's investigate that. Let's put a team on that. Investigate it. Yeah. Spend 6 months. If something comes of it, great. And we'd love to work with those people as soon as they make those realizations.
Fantastic. Where do you see the project? I mean, we all believe we know, and the community, but yourself, where do you see things in 2, 3, 4, 5 years? What's your belief in your mind?
Well, I think the number, I mean, maybe not 3, but more like 5. I think the number of blockchains will start to stagnate. Like the number of coins out there. The number of tokens will keep growing, but the number of coins, the number of infrastructures. There's going to be a plethora of new ZK-related solutions coming. Yeah. Some will be good, some will be bad. Some will realize they could just run on layer 2 because they need their own consensus systems, and that's where you go back to Bitcoin at the end of the day. Yeah. And I think, if it's just us talking, it would be more like, I can say a few things like, oh, it would just be a couple of blockchains, but I think there would be a handful of blockchains that would be relevant. Yeah. It's always an uphill battle. It's not like we're saying that we've won anything. We think that the systems, I'm not take Syscoin out, but just say the relevant systems will be ones that are the most secure settlement layers, the most decentralized settlement layers. Yeah. That can serve as a modular framework. Yeah. Meaning the actual, transactionality is not happening on those base layers. Yeah. Bitcoin excluded, right? Bitcoin is more like the digital gold. It's the bottom of the value pyramid, right? Yeah. Maybe that will be disrupted in the long term as well, but not in the short term. Yeah. In the long term, it'll be the layers where, there's the minimal amount of work, so it's the most efficient, the most amount of business that can be done, the most amount of people that can be onboarded in a way where they're not priced out. Yeah. And that's on the secondary layer. So whoever, most of the blockchains, like the ones today, like Solana and Avalanche, they're all going to be doing the same models. They're all going to end up going to the wallet because they can. So when Solana probably realizes, okay, we can't push 4 million TPS because our stacks break. So how can we actually get there? Well, the only way is to start thinking of secondary layers. Avalanche already has research. Cardano already has research for ZK. And Cardano, as you know, was supposed to be, let's put everything on the UTXO, layer 1, scale, like go crazy, privacy, scalability, parallel compute, great. But now they're already thinking about layer 2, even before launching layer 1. Yeah. So they see it, and a few of these will be relevant once they have the layer 1s, but the ones that will be sticking around long term will be the ones that are the most secure, decentralized. They follow a strict policy. They don't change much. Once they're delivered, they're delivered. They cannot change. The ones that keep changing are the ones that, have maybe the tokenomics are not consistent with the value proposition. The ones that maybe have the more of a monolithic design, not layer 2. The ones that are putting out the language today that we don't believe in layer 2 because it's not secure. Those same people will have to eat their words. And when they eat their words, people lose confidence. Yeah. And those will have to step away. Yeah. So if they step away, then who will replace them? Will the community be strong enough at that point to replace them? So those are the things I see in the 3 to 5 year span where we're going to revolutionize the layer 1. There's a war that's kind of happening underneath.
Yeah, it is.
underneath.
Yeah. I mean, the plan that everyone's got in place, the team, yourself, everything's getting sort of prepared. And it's definitely not doing things quietly, but at the same time, you are prepared and sorted in the background for what's going to happen, which we all know what's going to happen in the future. And one of the main things is, making sure there's liquidity there and whatever through all these exchanges. And now Syscoin's listed on every exchange, bar, maybe all the main exchanges, bar KuCoin. There's a lot of whispers at the moment. I mean, can you tell the viewers anything on that, Jag?
Yeah, so KuCoin went live last week.
Yeah.
And so KuCoin enables NEVM, I believe, so you can go on there and trade now. And I think the main missing ones are maybe in the States, like the Coinbase and Kraken ones.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. There's Bybit, which is really growing. We're talking to them. The rest of the exchanges we're all talking to, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we are dealing with a lot of the big ones, and it's a matter of time, I think.
Yeah. But you're already on the main ones in the world, really.
Yeah. At that point, it's how much more value will you gain by trying to go after the other ones. I think there's value in some of the US ones.
Yeah.
Binance US, Coinbase, Kraken, because it's a different user base.
Yeah.
Requirements are different there for people. So those ones are important, especially being in North America as well. The other thing, like you mentioned, like we're not making noise. Like it's almost like the Sun Tzu strategy, right? You lay back, you assess the situation, you see what's happening.
I see that, yeah.
And then you pick your time, right? You pick your time that once you have a solution you think can solve problems worldwide, it's not just an academic exercise. It's like that we've seen the big block debates. We've seen what happened after that. We chose the right version. We chose the right path. We've seen the monolithic versus modular blockchain. We could have went monolithic and made our blockchain really fast on layer one. We chose not to. Once those choices become apparent through our ability to scale up for average users, that's the time when we come out and we say this is the solution that everyone should be using.
Yeah. It's been fantastic having you on the show today, Jack. Is there anything else you would want to talk about while we're on the call? Anything you want to tell the viewers? I've got a lot of people in DMs all asking me when this relaxed AMA is going to be. Is there anything you want to add to this?
I mean, some of the other stuff I'm starting to think about, like if you really, really want to kill the idea that a monolithic blockchain will never work,
yeah,
you can actually do a simple logical test. You think about this, like we are now, like SpaceX and Elon, these guys, they're thinking about when they're colonizing other planets. And the closest planet we think that will be able to be you can habitat on is probably Mars, right?
Yeah.
So there's I'm not saying that I'm involved in anything there, but it's more like there are projects now that are starting to think about this. There's projects that actually out there in Dubai that want to create prototypes for colonization, right? And it's a thought experiment. It's not something that, look at what you're doing. It's more of like a thought experiment. Think about the situation where, and we know this is going to happen in our lifetime or next lifetime, where the population crisis is going to cause us to have to go and spread that to another planet and figure. There's already technology existing today for us to be able to go to somewhere like Mars, have enough oxygen, figure out gravity. Gravity is a little bit different, but overall the oxygen situation and food. We can solve those problems, especially since it's been proven that there was water there. You probably start habitat with vegetation. So there's already research. Now think about the situation about money or value.
Yeah.
A value system. We know that all of our systems are on Earth, right? And we're not about to create a separate system out there. It's got to be a system that's shared amongst both if you're on Earth or Mars and you have a government system, it's going to be shared, right? It's not going to be you have a separate government here, a separate government here, and then they're going to nuke each other. It's more about shared. It's going to be one, right? So then your value systems will be shared too. When you have a blockchain, which is where probably all the value will be shared, you won't have one blockchain that will serve value across both, because there's the actual hard limit on the delay of information coming back and forth. There's a 30-minute round trip time between sending a message and hearing about it. If you're going to send a message to Mars.
Yeah. So
how would it work? Like, how would you create a system, a blockchain system that can actually serve barter out there, right? And the answer is you would just have its own roll-up. They'd have their own roll-ups. And what it's doing is it's removing the time element away from the blockchain systems itself. Time element as in your layer one, you're not dictated on how to use or when to use layer one. You're essentially just putting your, for example, you have a ZK rollup in Mars, and every 10 or 20 minutes you take the snapshot of that and throw it into the main chain.
Yeah.
It takes 15 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
But it will be snapshot every 15 minutes. And that's not affecting any of your day-to-day transactions, right? That's happening on Mars. So the monolithic blockchains just can't support that. And I'm sure no one's thought about that.
You need to speak to Elon.
Things worth thinking about.
You need to speak to Elon, Jack. Try and get it. I'm sure he would actually speak to you.
I mean, maybe the goal, but they're doing the digital renderings right now. SpaceX is, right, of how it can effectively work and doing the research. I know there's people doing physical prototypes.
Yeah.
So maybe at some point we get involved with some of those and say, okay, well, if you want to mock the currency or value system, this is how you do it. Like you first have to artificially induce a 15-minute delay of every message.
Yeah.
And you quickly see that something like a monolithic blockchain will not work.
Yeah.
Ethereum today will not work for that.
Yeah.
But if you have your separate layers created, you start to see that that's how you'll scale up. So it'll be more and more apparent that these designs that these engineers are not thinking about today become more and more apparent in the future.
Bitcoin, the whole concept for me is unreal and changed my life, many years ago. But blockchain itself is going to change the whole way the world lives and already is. And it would be fantastic to see on Mars too. But listen, Jag, thank you so much for coming today. And a bit of a time difference with Dubai and obviously Canada. When are you looking to come back in the near future to Dubai? It's such a fantastic place, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, I don't know, some of my friends wanted to see the World Cup, but then maybe come up there for that. There's also other events and happenings that we'd like to tap into near Dubai. We might as well come up there for those as well. Yeah. Maybe November-ish.
That'd be nice.
Another time to come up there. Yeah, where the weather is actually pretty good out there.
It's cool. So. It's going to get really hot the next few months. Thank God for the air conditioning. But it's for me. I'm not moving away from here now. I was here years ago, and then I was back in Europe and Asia for a while, and now I'm back in Dubai. The wife, children are happy. So anytime you want to come over, mate, you're always welcome. And there'll always be a nice cool beer or a coffee there for you.
Thanks.
Cheers, Jack.
Take you up on that. Have to take you up on that.
Thanks very much.
Sure, yeah. Next time I come out there, I'll be giving you a shout for sure, and I'll get to maybe see some more things, because last time there wasn't enough time to really travel too much, so I didn't get to check out Abu Dhabi and that sort of thing. I'd really like to start seeing how it works at a deeper level and start to plug in. I think our awareness out there now is growing, and so we do want to spread more and more. Maybe in the future, if we do a Syscoin conference, perhaps that's an ideal destination.
100%. It's such a friendly place for crypto, blockchain, and there's so many different companies over here based. It's such a, they're sort of taking the world stage with it. So I know you're deep bedded, your roots and your family in Canada. Otherwise, I'd be selfish and want you to move over here. But It's not too far away. Everywhere's close in the world these days with a plane. So
yeah, maybe that's like a second destination.
Yeah.
Where we come out there for events and stay there for a while and then come back this way. It's good to experience and live in places that are so different.
Yeah.
From a government perspective, because it creates that perspective you need as well.
Of course. Yeah. Cheers, mate. Thank you so much for coming on today, Jack. And I'll speak to you. Would you like to do this maybe once every 6 weeks, every 2 months, me and you have a little chat?
Sure, yeah. It'd be good to just give the community the updates.
Yeah.
People are always looking for information. And so, I'd love to jump on every couple of months just to give an update of where we're at and what the roadmap looks like and how our execution is and stuff like that.
Brilliant, mate. Okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. It's great to.
No problem, mate. It's at the moment. It's with the time zones. What time is it your side? It's 5 to 9.
It's just 10 a.m. here. Yeah, it's the morning meetings for me.
9 o'clock at night here, so it's not too bad. So nice early night. But look, thanks very much, and I'll speak to you. But I'll probably speak to you tomorrow on one of the chats. But take care, mate. Yeah.
Okay.
See you in a bit. Bye bye, mate. Bye bye. Thanks for tuning in today, guys. If you're enjoying this content, please do me a favour. Smash up the like, show your appreciation, and press the subscribe button. And stay tuned for the next AMA and some more content coming your way. Cheers, guys.